In this video, I'm going to talk you through 4 of the most essential and fundamental elements that you need to get right and ultimately master in order to write hard-hitting rock songs. Once we've done that and you're ready to write your best rock songs ever, then you can download my Songwriters Checklist. This is the exact process that I go through with all of my production clients when we're getting started in order to make sure that their song is the best it possibly can be. Songwriting absolutely is an art. However, there's still certain processes and considerations that we have to make every time. So despite it being an art, there's still structure, and that structure is on this checklist, and it will ensure that you don't miss the mark with your song and that it has impact with your listeners. Completely free, and the link's in the description below. Okay, so the first thing that we need to consider when writing great rock songs is the hook. A hook is something that your listeners will attach onto, and ideally you want it to get stuck in their heads. This is arguably the most important part of your song, and there are lots of examples of hit songs that have great effective hooks. Now, a hook could be anything, all the way from a simple vocal line, a gang vocal, it could even be an instrumentation part, so for example a piano riff or a guitar riff, or even a drum fill that keeps coming back throughout the song. Now, a classic example here is Queen, We Will Rock You. There are 2 really effective hooks in that. First, there's the huge We Will Rock You gang vocal, and second, there's the drum rhythm. Another example of a rock song that has an extremely effective hook is Green Day, American Idiot. The drums have the hook in that. Everyone knows as soon as that song comes on, or as soon as you switch on the radio and you hear that drum fill, everyone knows that it's Green Day, American Idiot. Some other examples include The Offspring. Their hit song back in the 90s, Come Out and Play, has that iconic guitar riff. Also, Pretty Fly for a White Guy was a huge hit for them, which has that really cheesy vocal line that comes back throughout the song, and it also has those really powerful guitars. And finally, from the pop rock world, there's Blink-182 with All the Small Things. That was a massive hit for them, and that's got the really effective vocal hook in the chorus. Really simple na-na vocals. So as you can tell from those few examples that we've just mentioned, a hook doesn't have to be mega complicated. In fact, in certain circumstances, it can be overly simple, even cheesy. But the one thing that they all have in common is that they're extremely effective at getting stuck in people's heads, and that's what you want from a good hook. The second thing we're going to talk about for great rock songs is to play to your strengths. Every great band and artist out there will have something that they excel at, and it is really important to recognise what those strengths are and then play to them. So if your strength is that you're an amazing guitar player, then make sure you're writing songs that show off that ability and have some incredible riffs. If you're an amazing vocalist, then spend time writing melodies for your songs that show off that vocal ability and your range, and spend some time arranging and layering different backing vocals and harmonies. Maybe you're in a band that has an incredible drummer, then write songs that are centered around the drums. There's some great examples that I want to point out here. So Daughtry, one of my favourite artists of all time, and Daughtry has an incredible voice, and every single one of his songs shows off that vocal range and the ability that he has as a singer. It gives you the chills. Bands like Queen, Freddie Mercury was one of the best vocalists of all time. Brian May, incredible guitarist. So all of their songs have incredible vocals and incredible guitar parts. Guns N' Roses also very similar in that Slash is an amazing guitarist, and all the bands that he has then since played in afterwards. Green Day are amazing at writing lyrics. They have so many songs that have really deep, meaningful, even political lyrics. So their songs are all centered around making that the most important part and making the listener think about the message behind the songs. Blink-182 had Travis Barker, one of the best pop punk drummers of all time. Those guys are not the best singers in the world, not particularly the best guitarists, not saying they're bad, but as a band overall, that's not the strength. The strength is Travis on the drums, and so all of the songs very much have that as the focal point. The third element that you really need to nail for your rock songs is dynamics. Your song needs to build. Usually that's to the chorus or to a middle eight or a bridge section perhaps. But one of the biggest mistakes that I see, particularly in young up-and-coming amateur artists, is that they try to put everything in too soon. If everything sounds big, nothing is big. Sometimes you have to strip away certain elements from the verse in order for the chorus to sound bigger and better. And putting more stuff in the chorus might not necessarily make the song bigger and better. It might be a case of looking at what comes before it. So when you're writing your song, think about what the arrangement is going to be as well. Is the verse just going to be some drums, bass, acoustic guitars? Maybe the odd guitar fill here and there. And then when the chorus kicks in, you might bring in more layers of electric guitars, some riffs, and also maybe some extra elements like strings or synths. That is a much better way of making your song have impact rather than putting too much in the verse and then trying to put even more in the chorus. Maybe you have some point in your song where everything drops out. Typically that might be after a solo, an instrumental section, a middle eight or a bridge. Everything just kind of dies down and then builds up for that last final chorus. But remember the golden rule, if everything is big, nothing is big. Sometimes you have to take away rather than add. The fourth fundamental thing is your song needs to tell a story. We talked about the hook being arguably the most important part of your song. Well, if that's not the case, then it's more than likely going to be the vocals and your lyrics. In many cases, they are just as important as each other. But ultimately, your song needs to tell a story. Think about what message you want to get across to your listeners. Quite often, when songwriters are writing and they have writer's block, that's just because they don't have anything to say. So take some time off, go out, go for a walk, go and experience something, and that will more than likely give you inspiration to write. But many of the great songs, they tell a story. They make people feel a certain way. They evoke emotions. Even if it's not a feeling, then it may provoke a response, whether it makes people feel like they want to get up and dance, or even just tap the feet. The whole point is that you need to connect with your listener in some way. So now we've talked about the 4 fundamental things that you need to master in order to write great, hard-hitting rock songs. It would probably make sense for you to download my Songwriters Checklist. This is the exact process that I go through with every single one of my clients before we even get started on the production and the recording to make sure that the song is ultimately the best it possibly can be. Songwriting absolutely is an art, but there's still stages and processes that we have to go through every single time. So there is structure to that process. And that structure is on this checklist. It will ensure that your song doesn't miss the mark, and it will make sure that it impacts your listener in the way that you want it to. The checklist is completely free. Just go to the link in the description below and it'll be sent straight to you.